Are you confused by the Stable Diffusion web UI and wish you had a no-nonsense guide? Do you find this harder than Dark Souls? Well, don't worry, because we'll be looking at the text-to-image section of the user interface with examples, and I'll even give it to you bite-sized. Prompt is where you enter the text that will be used to generate the image, and there are different myths and legends for how you structure a prompt. But essentially anything placed in here will be viewed as something you want in your image. For example, if I type in medium close-up shot, beautiful woman with full lips, long brown hair, I will get Stable Diffusion's interpretation of that description. Negative prompt is the opposite of your prompt section, where anything included here will not be included in your image, although this effect is a hit or miss depending on your prompt. And it's better to just specify the description of your character in the prompt section and then use negative prompts to reinforce best practice. For example, if I use my previous prompt in Seed but add in worst quality, low quality 1.4, monochrome, then we will get a different result which will attempt to avoid a low quality and monochrome image. Sampling method is an algorithm used for denoising an image. And in case you're not sure what that means, it's basically the computer's way of correcting its mistakes by generating new samples of the image in steps, resulting in a cleaner image the more steps you have. I won't dive into the difference between each sampling method in this video, but I'm happy to make a dedicated video on that. But to get you started, DPM++ SDE Keras, Euler_A and DDM tend to be good options. Sampling steps is the number of times the sampling method will produce an improved image, and the higher this value, the cleaner the result, and the lower the value, the more noisy the result. So if I were to render our woman with a low sampling step, we can see that we're getting a rather low quality image, and with a higher number of sampling steps, the image is much cleaner. Restore faces is a controversial option that can restore generated faces that have been distorted or messed up by Stable Diffusion. It's controversial because it can produce worse results, depending on the model you are using, being better on realistic models than anime ones. You may want to consider inpainting as a more reliable method for fixing faces, but if we give it a spin, you can see the adjustments on both a realistic model and an anime model. The tiling checkbox is used to ensure that images can be tiled, or in plain English, to ensure that generated images can be placed next to one another seamlessly. Think about a patterned wallpaper you may have in your living room that repeats the same pattern, no matter the size of your wall. Or another good analogy is like a puzzle where individual tiles fit together to create a larger design. On this example, we can see a tiled image of a brick texture that we can then repeat to get that seamless effect that grows larger and larger. And if you're getting strange results, it may be that your checkpoint isn't compatible with tiling, so do try a different one. High-as fix is used to upscale our generated images to a higher quality and has the ability to alter our images entirely depending on our denoising strength. For example, we can render this image by 512 or use high-as fix to upscale it to 1024 by 1024. You can also do this after generating your image through the Upscaler in the Extras tab, but you have the built-in option to save time if you're confident you will get the image you want, as upscaling does extend the time it takes to generate the image. Looking at some of the other options under high-as fix, Upscaler will let you choose an algorithm for upscaling the image, and these will all have different effects, so it's worth looking into the individual options to choose what's right for your image. High-res steps lets you choose the number of sampling steps for the high-res image, and if left at 0, it will use your sampling steps as the default value. This will result in higher quality images, as seen in these examples. Denoising strength determines how much the algorithm should follow the image's content, with 0 changing nothing and 1 giving you an unrelated image. With values below 1, you will see less steps being taken than the slider specifies. Upscale By will determine how much the image size should be increased by multiplying its size determined in the width and height section by the value we select. Then we have Resize Width and Height To, which allows you to directly specify the size of the upscaled image. If this is left at the default value of 0, it will upscale the image based on the upscale option, where you can specify a number for the multiplication. The width and height is self-explanatory. It determines the width and height of the generated image. I'd advise not going above 768 depending on your computing power. Batch count determines the number of batches of images you will generate by multiplying the batch count by the batch size. So for a quick maths test, if I were to cook 2 batches of 3 cookies, how many cookies would I end up with? That's right, 6 cookies. Batch size determines the size of each batch. So if I want to cook 3 cookies in a single batch, then I will end up with 3 cookies. Now CFG Scale is an important option, as this will determine how much the image generated should conform to the prompt you provide, meaning at low values you will get something more unrelated to your prompt, and at higher values, Stable Diffusion will try and generate an image exactly to what your prompt describes. I'd recommend keeping this value modest, as very high or low values can produce unwanted results. The seed determines what kind of variation your image will have, and using the same seed will give you the same image when using the same checkpoint and prompt. So let's say you generate an image you like. The seed of that image will be captured in the image file's name. You can then use that seed to get that exact same image, providing you didn't change the checkpoint or prompts. Changing the prompts while using the same seed will still give you a similar image, but it will be altered to try and conform to the new prompt. On the topic of seeds, this dice icon will set your seed to -1, which is a value that will generate a random seed each time you generate an image. This green recycle option will reuse the seed from the last generated image, which is super useful for when you want to generate a similar image to the one you just made, and need to grab the seed without delving into the file's name. Variation seed attempts to combine the image generated from that seed with the currently selected seed for a blended image. Variation strength controls how strong the blending is, with a low value giving you the image from your selected seed, and a higher value mixing in more of the variation seed. Resize seed from height or width will allow you to maintain a generated image's style, even if you change the height and width. This is because changing the height and width of an image will change the type of picture that's generated, even if you use the same seed. So for example, let's generate an image at 512 by 512 using a simple prompt. Then let's generate that same image using the same seed, but 512 by 768. Notice how the image has changed. Now if we set the resize seed from height and width to 512 by 512, we can see that the height is the same and the image is similar to what we originally had before. Stable Diffusion also allows you to utilize custom scripts, and comes with a few installed right off the beat. If you want me to explore this, then let me know. But for now, be aware that these scripts allow you extra functionality, such as the ability to be able to see the individual impact of prompts on generated images. The Generate button allows you to draw 2 cards from your deck. This blue arrow icon will read and apply the prompts and settings from your last generated image, providing the prompt box is clear of any text. The bin icon will delete both your prompts and negative prompts from the text box. The red picture icon will show or hide your extra textual inversions, hypernetworks, checkpoints, and LoRa's, so you can easily access them within the same window. Think of these as add-ons, which you can install and then use from this window. The floppy disk icon allows you to save your prompts to a style section, which can then be loaded later on. The Notepad icon allows you to load prompts from your saved styles and apply them to both the prompt and negative prompt sections. The blue rotation icon next to styles will refresh your style list in case the ones you saved are not showing up, and the styles drop-down list is where they are saved. You can delete the style by navigating to the created CSV file and deleting the line with the style you are looking for. The folder icon will open the file directory where the generated image is saved, and this save location will differ, depending on whether you're using text to image, image to image, etc. The Save button will save both your generated image and a CSV file containing the generation data, so you can quickly have a record of your image and its associated details archived for future use. The Zip button will do the same thing as Save, except your images will also be stored in a zip file, and you will of course get a CSV file containing the generation data. Send to image, in Paint or Extras will take your selected generated image and send it to either of those tabs for further editing. You can also manually drag and drop the image into those tabs, but this is just a quicker option for sending the image directly for processing. But I hope you found that helpful, and if I've missed anything, then please do let me know, and I'll see what I can do to improve the video. This is Bite-Sized AI, and I hope you enjoyed.